Good evening and welcome to day 2. Tonight's story is going to be a real life one about Jamie and I, who today are celebrating our 13-year wedding anniversary. I know, right? 13 years! Unlucky for some, but not in this case. Nuh-uh. But it wasn't always that way. I'm happier than I've ever been in my entire life, but it hasn't always been that way. There was a point in time where I sat across the table from Jamie, a dining table to be precise, and uttered the immortal words, either you have to change or you have to leave. I don't see a way forward. Gosh, where did that come from? Well, for a period of time, I was absolutely miserable. I couldn't find the happiness in anything. Somebody who's so eternally optimistic, I was fed up. We were living together, we were working together 24/7. We didn't have a break from each other. We were very busy at work and we loved and enjoyed our jobs, but we were in each other's pockets all the time. And I was frustrated. I was angry. There was nothing Jamie could do around the house that would make me happy. If he was doing anything, I wanted him to be doing more, and if he was doing more, he was doing it wrong. I wanted to go places, but when I said to Jamie, where should we go? He wouldn't choose the places I wanted to go. So I'd get angry and then I'd go along with it like this. The way he dressed, the way he moved, anything he said, I would bite his head off. I was generally a bugger for a long time. And poor Jamie, he put up with me and he was patient, despite repeated attempts of me saying, oh gosh, why aren't things right? Why can't we sort this out? We weren't communicating properly. If we were, it was generally me getting very angry, crying, tears, rinse and repeat the next day. And it was a really awful time and I couldn't see a way out of it, aside from going, oh, this must be it. And in that moment, I realised that we were married. We had gotten married for richer, for poorer, sickness and in health, for the long term. And I thought to myself, hang on a minute, have I really looked at all the options here? I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I hadn't asked for help. I hadn't verbalised to anybody other than poor Jamie that I was unhappy. So I wasn't getting context from anywhere. I wasn't getting feedback from anywhere. I wasn't getting input from anyone. I was keeping it all in here and just going all the time. Okay. I realised that there was something that I had to do. So I sucked it up and I went, okay, I've got to seek a way forward out of this, because to abandon everything that we've had and got and experienced just seems a bit of a waste when I don't know what the problem is. It doesn't make sense. So I asked for help and very quickly started learning and understanding what had happened. I was doing this every day. I was blaming Jamie for my lack of happiness, for my lack of gumption, for my lack of energy, for my lack of anything. I was blaming Jamie. You must, you should, why don't you? And as I've mentioned a couple of times before, my awareness was raised as to this. And then very quickly, after seeking help and having such wonderful things as mindset coaching tools, I realised that I'd lost my identity. I didn't know who I was anymore. I wasn't Tony. I'd become Tammy. I was one half of Jamie, who I lived to make happy. I put him first. If we had 2 pieces of chicken and one looked better, I would give it to him. If there was somewhere that we were going to go for dinner, I would let him choose. If we were going to have a takeaway, like a Chinese Indian pizza, I would let him choose. Oh, you choose, what would you like? I always put him first. And every time I did that, I was losing a sense of me. And over time, a long period of time, I'd lost who I was. So by opening my eyes to this, I very quickly realised that the steps I needed to take was to rediscover who I was, what made me happy, what got me out of bed in the morning, what my purpose was, who Tony Marie was, not who Tammy was, not who Jamie's wife was, not who Jamie's better half was. Who was Tony? And by going through that process of discovery, by stopping blaming and looking in to understand what it was I was missing, what it was I was seeking, which as soon as somebody started asking me the right questions became very abundantly clear very, very quickly. And I started, being at home and putting what I was learning and the techniques and things into practice, things started to change quite quickly. And that was without me ever saying, oh, this is what I've learnt, darling, or I must do this, that and the other, darling. There were many times in the process of a couple of months after that I did ask for forgiveness, because Jamie had been eternally patient in putting up with me and not being able to help me, because I wouldn't ask him for help. You know, he couldn't help. And afterwards, you know, even now we get to talk about that time and laugh about it, because it seems so daft in hindsight. But it's so very easy when you're in a relationship to get the blinkers on and to look at that person for your everything. But in any relationship, you're one person, they're one person, and together you make a good team. But a team is made up of independent elements, and each element must perform at its greatest in order for that team to be successful. So where am I going with this? Poor Jamie went through a treacherous time, but through me being able to ask for help, to understand and digest where I was, and don't forget, this didn't include any relationship counselling or, you know, having to go and sit next to each other and go through, you know, awkward, oh, you know, well, do you do this, don't you do this, what do they do that makes you happy? None of that. It was very simple. I shone the light on me, unpicked my beliefs about relationships, and, you know, growing up, my mum and dad divorced at a very young age, so I didn't grow up in a mum and dad relationship where I saw healthy communication, where I saw how things should be resolved. I had no idea. You know, we all grow up very differently and are conditioned very differently around relationships. And if you don't grow up in a family with a model relationship, or watch the right sort of TV programs, for example, we learn from our surroundings. If you're not nourished by the right sort of information, you grow up doing the best with what you have. But you owe it to your partner in your relationship to be the best that you can be, so that they can remember why they fell in love with you in the first place. Because let me tell you, for a little while, I don't know why Jamie loved me. I don't know why he didn't run away screaming. I was awful. So yes, there is my sort of shallow dive under 10 minutes as to, in a relationship, how mindset coaching can help take you from frustrated, angry, blameful, resentful, feeling like you're missing out and underappreciated, undervalued, to the happiest you've ever been in the most fantastic relationship you could imagine, just by peeling back the layers of all of your conditioning, all of your frustration, all of your build-up, you know, somebody that can, you know, someone that can talk to you and get what you want and put you first. Because when you put yourself first, other people will put you first too. We now have balance, we have communication, it works. Any questions? Ping me the notes, and we'll see what video comes tomorrow.